We already knew that USC and UCLA were joining the Big Ten in 2024. We already knew Texas and Oklahoma were joining the SEC in 2024. But damn, some big names came out. We discussed Colorado also going to the Big 12 a couple episodes ago. But the Big 12 also, they're adding Utah. They're adding Arizona and Arizona State. The Big 10 are now adding Oregon and the University of Washington. All About the Balls podcast with Mark Davis, Chris Meinhardt, Luke Rule, and Nick the Doc Skirkowitz. Hello and welcome to this Friday, August 4th edition of All About the Balls podcast. I'm your host, Mark Davis, excited to be in the Sack House because we finally had a preseason game. Yes, it was just a Hall of Fame game. No starters involved, no first-round picks unless your name is Will McDonald IV, but it's still football. It's something to watch, something to look forward to. I'm joined alongside Chris Meinhardt and Nick the Doc Skirkowitz. Doc, how are you feeling after the first preseason game, even though it was a Hall of Fame game? How are you feeling a day later?
I mean, feeling good to see football back. You know what I'm saying? I mean, everybody in America, if there's one thing that can unite this country, again, it's football. And Hall of Fame, waste game or not, it is nice to just see the boys back in pads, playing the game that we all love. Just warms my heart.
And Chris, how are you doing tonight? Make sure you unmute that button, but how are you doing tonight, the day after the Hall of Fame game?
Mark, doing absolutely amazing. It was just so great to be able to finally sit down on the couch and be like, hey, I have a football game to turn on.
Yeah.
And then we got very much introduced to how DeMarcus Ware should never sing the national anthem again. Probably
love
never
the story
sing
though
again in his life.
Love the story why he did it, but not a good singer.
Probably.
Come on, man. You've had USFL for weeks.
No, but it was bad though. I don't watch the national anthem in the USFL, but it was horrible. It also went fucking 3-4 minutes past normal people singing it too. Yeah, it was a long one.
Wait, hold up. Yeah. Was it Fergie bad? Was it Fergie NBA All-Star bad?
I wouldn't say that, just because Fergie's an actual professional singer, so you expect more out of her, but it was bad.
That was a fucking train wreck.
I mean, every time I think of that, I just picture Draymond's face because he's lost in space, and then the camera gets on him and he's just smiling and laughing because it's like, yo, what the fuck do I do here?
What are we doing here?
Yeah,
what is going on?
No, yeah, he should stick to his day job, whatever he's doing outside his professional life. Hey, but shout out to you, DeMarcus Ware. You'll be in the Hall of Fame this weekend. You know, hell of a player. Definitely grew up watching you, and you're one of the best pass rushers I've ever seen play for sure. But boys, I golfed today, rocking the new hat as well, my little Florida hat. Rocking the state where I'm from and everything. It looks good. I feel good. I look good. I'm going to talk good tonight. So we're going to talk a lot of football tonight. Like I said, we had a Hall of Fame game. We had some injuries and suspensions. We're going to break down just one each. And then the college football madness. A lot of smoke is starting to clear from the Big 10, the Big 12, and the Pac-12. And then we'll see what the ACC will spoil that a little bit. We'll see what the ACC is going to do. But let's start off, like I said, Canton, Ohio, boys. The Hall of Fame game, the Cleveland Browns versus the New York Football Jets. Normally you would see Deshaun Watson versus Aaron Rodgers, but this time the starters were Kellen Mond for the Cleveland Browns and Zach Wilson from the New York Jets. The final score was 21-16. Chris, Zach Wilson was only in there for about 3 drives, got 6 points, so 2 field goals. He did have one big throw to Malik Taylor that Aaron Rodgers did call up. That was the Aaron Rodgers play, and he told Robert Saleh, he told Nathaniel Hackett, let's call this play, and, it worked out. Zach Wilson didn't look too good the rest of the plays, but that's typical Zach Wilson.
Yeah, no, I mean, going into it, I was excited to see Zach Wilson, kind of see if he improved. I know he hasn't got much time with Aaron Rodgers, but just see if he stepped up a little bit. And right off the bat, we got typical Zach Wilson. Fucking backup Zach Wilson right there.
I mean, he made that throw was beautiful. I mean, I don't care if it's the preseason or not. That was a hell of a throw, and I'll give it to him. That was what we saw during his training or his pro day out in BYU.
Yeah, that was his BYU days.
The problem isn't preseason or not. The problem is you won't see that shit in the regular season because first of all, Zach Wilson's ass should be parked on the fucking bench. All right, fuck you, Cowherd. For liking him, but
according to Aaron Rodgers, you're not going to see him. He said it in the Hall of Fame for 8 or 9 years. So that means if the math is correct, that means Aaron Rodgers is going to be there for at least 3 or 4 seasons. So you might not see Zach Wilson as a starter for the New York Jets for a while. But Chris, another guy, and Doc, another guy that I saw that stuck out to me was the 5th round draft pick out of the Cleveland Browns, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, a.k.a. DTR from UCLA. That man was phenomenal out there. When I missed the first quarter, work called. I had to get in there and do my thing. But I got in there at the second quarter, so Kellen Mond started. But DTR was the highlight for me. That guy was throwing blocks for his running back, Demetric Felton Jr. He was making dime throws as well, also running the ball. Had a 22-yard game winner. The kid's shining. Maybe, just maybe, he'll pass Kellen Mond on the 3rd depth chart, and then maybe he'll pass Joshua Dobbs, who did not start as the second string, which he's behind Deshaun Watson. So I think if this DTR kid keeps balling, he can take that backup spot, or maybe get on the radar for other teams to maybe, make a move for him.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's definitely the potential for that. I mean, DTR came out here. We're talking 5 less completions, 8 less attempts, came out just 10 less yards. I mean, the average 4.8 to 7.5 is an insane amount. I mean, the guy came out absolutely balled out, showed what he can do. Kellen Mond has continued to just show why he is a backup in the league. And it didn't help Mond getting sacked just after the opening drive.
Also throwing interception too doesn't help either.
Yeah, throwing an interception. DTR didn't have one. So a big day by him. Yeah. I mean, I'm excited to see the fight for that second string, but at the end of the day, let's be real, it's Deshaun Watson's team.
Oh, yeah.
And that's unless he gets hurt, this is a moot point.
I agree. I will say,
or suspended again.
You go, Chris.
Yeah. I mean, DTR looked good. I mean, he demonstrated he looked very well. He looked like he was good in the pocket. He was calm. He had that awareness when he had to evade trouble. I mean, he used his legs, got out of it. He looked fluid. He looked like he was in control of that offense. I mean, just watching that first half, the Browns offense looked flat besides the run game. They just couldn't get momentum going. And then DTR came in and he balled out.
And I will say the play of the game wasn't even a throw from him or a run from him. It was him fucking setting up the block for his running back. He threw his body into the linebacker and said, yo, my running back's scoring here. Because speaking of that running back, Demetric Felton Jr., he's in a spot where he's trying to get that second string spot behind Nick Chubb. I know they wanted to include Nick Chubb in the passing game, but you want to have that scat back like a Kareem Hunt. They do have Jerome Ford, who they drafted last year, but they also have Demetric Felton, who looked good, and he's going to compete for that second string spot. That is an important position for the Cleveland Browns, I think. I don't care if it's preseason. Having that scat back behind Nick Chubb is very, very important for this Cleveland Browns team.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the service before self. You love to see it.
I mean, he put his body out there. I mean, he didn't give a shit at all.
Send it, dude. Send it. Earn your spot. Earn your keep.
Yeah, I mean, Felton, he seized his opportunity last night to demonstrate and to show off what he did. I mean, he led the Browns last night in rushing, 46 yards on only 7 carries. He had a phenomenal night. I mean, my big takeaway player from the Browns would have to be Darwin Jones. I mean, that man looked like a fucking monster lined up against the defense. I mean, 6'8", 375 pounds, and that man moved like he was a feather. He was he didn't allow one single quarterback pressure and 35 passing plays. I mean, I know it's like 2s and 3s going against 2s and 3s, but still coming out as a rookie and going against players that have been in the league and still not giving up a single quarterback pressure is pretty outstanding to me.
What's going to happen is that they're going to elevate him they're in the first team reps. And if you can keep competing with the first team squad, he's going to get a spot. And that's the point. It's like you go from your tier, and then you elevate a little bit. And if it doesn't work out, then you go back to that tier. But if you're making a name for yourself in preseason, that is where it all starts. And then, maybe you'll be a starter. And that's a big boy too. I saw him on the sideline. That's a big motherfucker, man. And Ohio State, they produce good offensive linemen. Like that, they have a history of it. So it's not a bad spot to be. And the New York Jets do need offensive line help, I thought. So, I mean, if someone struggles, he's going to be the next guy up. But
big facts. Ohio State produces everything except for quarterbacks.
Well, your quarterback, Justin Fields, he has the Titans next week in preseason.
I know what I said.
has the Chiefs Sunday, the primetime slot everyone's going to be watching. The Falcons go to Miami. And, boys, it's preseason. We're going to cover the games Monday. We're going to preview some things we're looking for, obviously the rookie quarterback, things like that. But just good to have football back. Good to hear Chris Collinsworth's voice on NBC.
Love it.
Pumped up.
Careful.
I love it. Yep.
I don't know. I don't know that I would ever be. I mean, I'd take him over Boog, but I don't know that I'd ever be excited for Chris Collinsworth voice.
I did also love hearing some of the Hall of Famers on the sideline. Zach Thomas had a good story where he got hit by a car as a kid, and he had a learning deficiency after that, and he had to learn, with his mom, how to hear better. He had a hearing problem, and he's a third linebacker under 6 foot to make the Hall of Fame too. So that's a pretty crazy stat. Honestly, linebackers typically aren't under 6 foot. And they said some of the stories. I listened to AJ Hawk on the Pat McAfee show today. Listen to Pac-Man Jones also talk. They said Zach Thomas was full on just throwing bodies out there. He didn't give a shit if it was practice or not. He was full on just trying to run somebody over and just trying to kill him. But I can't wait for the Hall of Fame tomorrow too. Like I said, we have some good crop of guys going in. Some guys that we grew up boys watching. Rodney Barber. You have Zach Thomas, DeMarcus Ware, Darrelle Revis, arguably one of the top corners in the league and in the history of this football association. I don't think he's the best, but I think he's definitely has a case to make that. He held Calvin Johnson at 13 yards one game. I mean, can anyone else say that?
Revis Island out there.
Yes, Revis Island for a reason. Also, boys, just one last thing on that game. Will McDonald IV, he said it was a first rounder. He played a lot last night. That's kind of a bad sign if your first round rookie is playing into the third quarter. So I want to see how he's going to do. He's an outside linebacker, pass rusher for the New York Jets. So we'll have to keep on that guy, see how he's doing in camp. Hard Knocks is coming up August 8th, this week upcoming. So we'll see probably a lot of him on the Hard Knocks edition. Doc, I'm going to start with you. I want Chris to go second for this one. Alvin Kamara, the New Orleans Saints running back, met with Roger Goodell Wednesday this past week, and it was announced today. He's suspended the first 3 games. So visiting the Titans, or home for the Titans, at the Panthers on Monday night, at the Packers. He's going to be missing all 3 of those games. He'll come back week 4 against the Bucs at home. What does this impact for fantasy? Because that's the key. We know that the Saints can survive maybe 3 games without Alvin Kamara. But what's the fantasy impact for himself, Jamal Williams, and Kendra Miller, the rookie TCU running back, the 3rd round?
It's tough to make that distinction. I want to say it's a big impact because of what Kamara can bring to the game, but at the same time, the numbers haven't been there the last couple of years that we're used to. So it's almost like, hey, he's out 3 games. I don't think it changes draft stock. I think, it might lower just a little bit because I don't think he's a number 1 pick that, a lot of people think he might be.
That used to be too, yeah.
Yeah, ever since Ingram came in, I mean, he's just gone downhill since they started splitting touches. I'm hoping to see Kamara go back to the Kamara of old where he's the number 1 back, getting all the touches, the checkdowns, everything else. He's that 200-yard per game player, both receiving and rushing. But I think what he's coming off of, I don't think it affects much fantasy-wise.
Yeah, Chris, when you're looking at it, like maybe in that mid-tier, the middle rounds, I'm sorry, not mid-tier, but the mid-rounds, does this impact, maybe taking a Jamal Williams over Alvin Kamara or a Kendra Miller, or will this also take away from Alvin Kamara when he gets back if these 2 guys are balling out in the first 3 games?
I mean, I don't think you're going to take Jamal Williams or Kendra Miller over AK just because you have Kendrick. I mean, he's coming off an injury right out of his pro day. So, I mean, we don't know about his injury. Jamal Williams, he's touchdown dependent. If he's not getting touchdowns, he's not getting you points. I think only getting 3 games, I think AK's ADP is going to rise just a little bit, which I think is very good because I have no interest in taking him. So, someone else is going to take him. So that's going to leave me somebody better to get. I mean, he's getting up there in age. He's 28 years old. He's coming off 2 horrible years. I mean, he should have been suspended last year. I mean, the past 2 years,
Facts.
I don't think he's got maybe 4 yards per carry on average. So, I mean, and he's getting thrown into a loaded running back room right now. I mean, Jamal Williams is there. Kendra Miller, we've already named him. So it's going to take some time. I think fantasy-wise, he's not going to be the first-round running back like he's used to. I think just football-wise, the Saints are going to survive without him, like you said, Mark.
I mean, yeah, the problem is last year they also didn't use him to his ability, which was catching the ball out of the backfield. He's phenomenal. He was phenomenal.
They haven't since Ingram came back.
Yeah, I mean, two
not
years ago he was good, but last year was bad.
His rookie year when Ingram was there, they're phenomenal. Both of them had 1,000 yards, all-purpose yards.
Yeah,
so
once AP left, yeah.
It's not about him. Yeah, I know. Adrian Peterson.
Yeah,
but it's not about him splitting carries. It's about game planning. I mean, once Sean Payton left, the game plan was gone.
Big
Pete Carmichael's a horrible. I wouldn't say horrible, but he definitely did not learn from Sean Payton. And is it quarterback play? Probably. I mean, once Drew Brees left, you saw his consistency go down, and it doesn't help with Derek Carr coming in because Carr's not a guy that peppers the running back coming out of the backfield. He's more hands it off, and that's not AK's game. AK's game's not going north and south. It's getting over the edge, and we weren't doing that successfully last year. So
we saw
that's what hurt him.
And we saw with the Raiders, like Josh Jacobs has never had a receiving touchdown in his career. And that's a running back. So does that take away from Alvin Kamara? Yeah, maybe. I mean, maybe AK is a little more, elusive when it comes to that component of the game compared to Josh Jacobs. But we've seen Josh Jacobs with the ball in his hand, and we know he can definitely score. So, like you said, I think Derek Carr can throw the ball. I mean, he's got a good delivery of a ball. We don't trust him in big moments, but I think the Derek Carr coming in is going to take away from Alvin Kamara, not the suspension. Like you said, it's just 3 games, so it's not like a huge loss at all in fantasy. You can sacrifice if you had Alvin Kamara as your second running back, you could find someone for 3 weeks, literally to hopefully plug and play, and just hope you get maybe 2 wins, and then you're 2-1 when AK gets back, and if he starts balling out, that's a good draft pick for you. But something to keep on. I think he can play preseason, so we'll see what, like you said, Pete Carmichael starts dialing up with Derek Carr this preseason, which is going to be big.
Right. John Gruden came in today again.
Oh, not John Gruden, not Chucky.
Hey, he came in again.
Oh man, that's crazy. Maybe he's the future coach of the New Orleans Saints. Maybe he's just
maybe future quarterback coach, not head coach.
That's funny is he's never produced a good quarterback.
I don't know. I've seen dumber shit happen, like John Gruden getting $10 million a year to lose in Las Vegas. Well, Oakland at the time.
My thing about Gruden though
everybody loses in Las Vegas. That's
true. Gruden though is a quarterback guru apparently, but he's never actually groomed a great quarterback. Like he's never actually.
That's what I'm saying. That's my sarcasm about the bullshit. He's a dog shit coach that got overpaid and couldn't fucking make anything happen. The dude came in and refused to call his star player when he took over the Raiders. Refused to call his star player, and he got traded to the Bears.
But
the Bears.
Moving on, we did mention fantasy. Let's keep the fantasy train rolling because the guy that won the Triple Crown Award for the receivers in 2021, and he was balling last year. And to be honest, he was probably going to have, on pace, a better year than Justin Jefferson did. And he had a phenomenal year himself. Cooper Kupp, towards ACL week 10, obviously last year. Everyone's excited to have him back, see what he's going to do. Fantasy, he's projected to be a top 5 draft pick. Chris mentioned that during the mock draft that we did with Luke. And he had a hamstring injury. Now he's going to be out for a few weeks. Chris, how big is this for the Los Angeles Rams? We'll put fantasy aside for right now. We'll talk fantasy in a second. But how big is this for the Los Angeles Rams if he can't play? Or if this lingers on to the season and it hinders his play a little bit?
I mean, it's huge. Like we said when we covered the Rams, was like their one thing that they can't do is get injured. They don't have the depth for guys to come in. They have rookies, so they're not proven yet. But this is big. Like Kupp's already coming off injuries, tweaking his hamstring, and then how much are they going to rush him to get him into week 1? Because they need him. They need him in the game, plain and simple, to win games. So they know that. But do you rush him? Do you not rush him? Is the question.
Yeah, I think it's huge because, like you said, there's no depth. I mean, look at this list. You got Van Jefferson, who I thought was pretty good for a little while, and then he's had his injuries. Tutu, Atwell, Demarcus Robinson, and then Ben Scormack, whatever his name is. So they definitely don't have that depth to not have Cooper Kupp. And like I said, he was balling last year, and they were still losing with him. Those 9 games, they were 3-6. So it's not like, as phenomenal as he was playing with Stafford and then the backup. Actually, Stafford was there together. They got hurt the same week. But when they were playing together, it didn't really matter at all. So, but having him there is huge for that offense in general, especially with a run game that's questionable and Stafford who's questionable and Sean McVay, if he's not even going to want to be there after this year. So it's just, what are the Rams playing for, honestly? And that's the thing is, does Cooper Kupp even want to be there if he's hurt? Like, why not just rest yourself? Sit yourself out, honestly.
Take the Lamar Jackson route, dude.
Well, coming off an ACL surgery and now you have a hamstring issue, it wouldn't be a bad idea to sit there and make sure you're healthy, because hamstrings, if they keep lingering, it's going to be a problem for the whole year. You don't want that at all. You still want to play. Don't get me wrong, but the Rams are in a bad spot. I don't think they're that good. I think that they're in for a long, long year. If it wasn't for the Cardinals not having Kyler Murray, they'd be competing with, the Cardinals for last place. Like, that's how bad it is.
Yeah, him and Higbee linked in with a good touchdown today in fucking training camp. So, if these guys go down, Higbee's going to have to step up. It's health. Like we said it all over when we covered the Rams. These boys got to stay healthy. They're all old as fuck.
But more importantly,
Cooper Kupp makes Stafford that much better.
And more importantly, is fantasy, because that's what we play. Everyone around the fucking country plays it when you watch football. Is Chris, you mentioned top 5 for Cooper Kupp. I have it clipped. So that was one of our videos we're going to clip. You named all 5 guys.
We keep receipts around here.
Yeah, we keep those receipts. Are you still on board with Cooper Kupp being a top 5 worth of a draft pick?
Yeah, no. Like I said, if you're in one of those top 5 spots, you can take one of those players, and they have the potential of being the number 1 fantasy player. I think they're going to be smart with Kupp. I don't think they're going to rush him. They know what they did last year. I think he still has the potential to be that number 1.
I don't know, Doc. With pick number 9, if Cooper Kupp's there, maybe because he fell down, but I'm still a little nervous. I'm taking probably all 59 seconds before that last second to make that decision, because I don't know if I trust Cooper Kupp this year. We're seeing injuries already with his legs. We just saw the ACL last year, like we've mentioned so many times already. I don't know if I trust Cooper Kupp to stay healthy for 17 games, and we need him for 16 games because that's what the championship goes to. I need him for 16 weeks, so that's huge. And right now, with
15,
what he's going
15
through,
weeks, he's gonna have a bye week to recover.
That's
that
true.
leg.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, 15. I need him for 15 weeks.
It's just like you said. It's an ACL. It's a big injury. It's a hamstring. It's a lingering injury. This is where the body kind of starts to break down. And it's kind of that mindset of like, does Cooper Kupp really want to be here, right? Like, does he take the Lamar Jackson route and focus on himself and sit out and fuck the team because he wants to get paid? But ultimately, like, I don't think that this kills his draft stock. I think that, there is still value in him, but I'm definitely not taking a top 5 draft pick on him. 100%.
It also goes down to, I don't know if Sean McVay's come out and say like what grade this hamstring strain or injury
and that's
is.
Yeah, that's a big
part. Thing is like, because if it's just like a little strain, if
we're talking missing a week or two of preseason, yeah.
Well, luckily it happened last week, so he still has 4 or 5 weeks full to rest. So it's about what Sean McVay does, and like I've been saying, is do they rush him back? Does he play in a preseason game? I doubt we see him in a single preseason game.
They're only rushing him back if they think that they're playoff contenders.
I don't think they rush him back at all, honestly. Like, they already said he's out for a few weeks, and there's only 3 preseason games for the Rams. So, maybe the last game, but I don't even think they do that. I don't think the Rams should risk it at all. You want this guy there every single week possible. And he, like I said, he was on pace to do what Justin Jefferson did last year. But, he had, I think, 900 yards through 9 games. He was averaging 100 yards a game. And then he unfortunately got hurt, and that sucks to play. That sucks to happen. But we'll see. It's 2023. Season's coming around shortly. We're going to see what's going to happen with the Cup.
Sean McVay could do the same thing that Pete Carroll just did and tell the media that his running back's out indefinite, and then the running back's out there fucking playing 3 days later, you know?
Which one was that? Was that Walker or was that
no, it was
rookie?
The rookie. The rookie.
Yeah, okay.
He comes out and says he's out indefinite, and then 3 days later he's back on the plane.
Jesus.
Which hey, it makes sense because indefinite means you don't know. Pete Carroll doesn't know medical shit. So, and I'm all for all coaches coming out and saying, hey, these players are out indefinite. I don't know when they're coming back.
That's true.
No, it's something to keep an eye on is Cooper Kupp. I think he's one of the most important storylines now coming into your fantasy season. Like I said, our league is 22 days away from the redraft league and then 23 days away from the dynasty league. So, these next 3 weeks, we're going to be sitting here wondering, especially you, Chris, with the 4th pick. I don't think he gets to 9, even if he gets past you. So I don't have to worry about him. Doc's definitely not going to see him at 12. So I don't think me and Doc have to worry about Cooper Kupp at all.
If I see him at 12, I'm still not taking him.
Damn.
If you go receiver, and he's your second receiver, I think that's definitely worth the risk. But
yeah, I'll take him at 13. I'm not taking him at 12.
Yeah, it's true. He didn't say 13.
Yeah. Okay.
Technicality, but boys, let's move. We have a big story here. I wanted to save some time, so we have plenty of time because this is going to, I think, take a while. NCAA football. It is fucking getting crazy right now. We already knew that USC and UCLA were joining the Big Ten in 2024. We already knew Texas and Oklahoma were joining the SEC in 2024. But damn, some big names came out. We discussed Colorado also going to the Big 12 a couple episodes ago. But the Big 12 also, they're adding Utah. They're adding Arizona and Arizona State. The Big 10 are now adding Oregon and the University of Washington. The Big 10, the SEC, and the Big 12 will have 16 teams now. It's getting fucking crazy. The ACC, they're kind of settling down right now. The smokes, I think they're waiting for the smoke to clear. FSU and Clemson were rumored for the Big 10 and SEC potential joining those schools. We had an FSU buddy that said it was huge for the SEC and the Big 10 to pretty much go after FSU and Clemson. I think Clemson's on the kind of the downward spiral right now. They're still competitive, but they're not Clemson like we knew a few years ago with Deshaun Watson and Trevor Lawrence. But is this good for college football, Chris? All these teams linking up, making 4 conferences. We still don't know about the ACC. So it might be 3 big-ass conferences, or it might just be 4. The ACC has 14 schools, and they eliminate divisions. So it's a 3-5-5. So 3 rivalry permanent games, and they'll rotate the other 5 teams every other year. That's what the ACC stands. Notre Dame's also on a deal with NBC until 2025. That's an eye to keep it on. How does this look for college football right now?
No, absolutely. This ruins college football. All these big TV medias coming in, throwing money at these teams to come in and make these huge super conferences. It's ruining football. You have the Pac-12 that's now the Pac-4. That's 108 years of fucking history about to be gone next year. The
basketball
Rose Bowl,
too. It's not just football, it's basketball too.
Yeah, the Rose Bowl, kiss it goodbye. That's not going to be a good game. And then it's rough. Look at Oregon, right? So for Oregon to Rutgers, which is going to be a conference game, they have to travel 2,900 yards or miles. Sorry, not yards. 2,900 miles. That's a lot of miles for a conference game. But Oregon to Oregon State, 50 miles for a non-conference game. So, this shit, it's dumb. I think this is ruining. I think it's ruining football. And like I mentioned earlier to you over text, Mark, is when ESPN and Fox pushing out these big paychecks, and now you have these streaming companies that are taking over sports, taking over
Amazon's
TV.
doing a bang-up job with Thursday Night Football.
Well, but college football, it's just right now CBS, NBC, Fox, and ABC/ESPN. So those are the 4 big ones right now.
How I get ESPN that they make some money, But like, when's the last time you sat down in front of a TV and watched like First Take or any of these other fucking ESPN shows on TV?
I don't even watch First Take because I'm watching YouTube when Pat's on.
Exactly. Like, no one, it's not back in the day where we had all these like media news outlets at the touch of our fingers on phones. You had to like sit in front of a TV and watch ESPN to get news. Like, it's not top 10 plays anymore. Like, no one gives a fuck about ESPN. So it's like, when is Disney going to kick ESPN to the curb? Like, how are they going to keep up with these big paychecks that these schools are chasing?
And Doc, it's not just money too. Is it also going to ruin the rivalries as well?
Absolutely. You're splitting the conferences. You're throwing a knife in the heart of what college football is. I mean, I could say so much about this. It's an absolute joke. I mean, I guess I must have missed the memo where you no longer need to be bordering a state in the conference that you're in because, like Chris said, going from Oregon all the way to Rutgers, I mean, even in the Big 12, Cincinnati going in there, Texas, Cincinnati, not as big of a move, but still, like, this was built on location, built on ease. The students, right, because education comes first, not traveling, right? This has such a bigger impact than just the sports. But it's an absolute joke. The rivalries, the conferences, everything all together. This is clearly a money grab. The Pac-12 with the history, you know, we heard for years about Power 5 conferences and how everything was going to come down to the 5 conferences, and now it's really becoming like Power 4 1/4. I don't know. This is just extremely disappointing for what the competition is in college football. And most of these folks that are coming out here are not playing for the NFL. 99% of these folks know they're not going to NFL. They're just out here to get the scholarship to play and get their education, move on to whatever their career field is, and God bless them for it. But like, you're taking the fun out of the game.
Well, it's not even so. The 4 teams remaining in the Pac-12, though, well, now like Chris at the Pac-4 is California, which they're potentially going to go bankrupt any moment. It seems like you have Stanford, who I still think is a decent name when it comes to, well, definitely academics, but they still have a big name. You have Oregon State and Washington State. These 4 schools before the end of this football season is going to pick a conference. If it's not the Big 10 or it's Big 12, it's going to be something. You know, the ACC might grab them.
I would hope so. Otherwise, they're going to be staying under a bridge.
But that raises the questions now. Well, first, does the Pac-12, or what it was, Doc, in the 2010 era was the Pac-10. That was before Utah and Colorado came out there. They were on the verge of getting Texas, Oklahoma State, Texas Tech, Utah, and Colorado, who they did get, and now they're leaving. But they were going to be the Pac-16. They didn't want Texas to have the Longhorn Network, which is why teams like Nebraska and Missouri and A&M left to start off. But do they regret now not fucking letting Texas have their little network? Because you ideally would have had all those teams, and now you don't have a fucking conference at all. You're done because you didn't want the Longhorn Network.
I mean, in the moment, I think it absolutely there's regret now because you lost those teams, you lost that revenue. I think ultimately where we're at, I mean, it's weird because I think that those teams at the end of the day would have left because the Pac-12, it does not matter how you spin it, the Pac-12 is not competitive. As good as the teams that win that conference were, right. Willie Taggart fucked Oregon. They've been doing everything they can since he left to go fuck Florida State. But ultimately, I feel like it would have happened anyways. But at the same token, you could say, this could have changed the landscape. This could have kept the Pac-12, or the future Pac-16s could have kept them big. This conference could have become the new SEC because what drives the conference better, right, is the competition, the chance to go pro, nationally televised games, all those things, and having Texas, Oklahoma, all those other teams in there, it could have absolutely drove up, recruiting and everything to make this a true powerhouse conference. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, with them not being there, we'll never know. I think the potential was definitely there, but those teams could have also gone to the Pac-12 and absolutely lost everything shit the bed because they're in, the whack.
Well, the problem also is the Pac-12, like you said, Doc, level competition. If I'm not mistaken, since the playoffs have been, founded and been used, they've only had 2 teams in the playoffs. Oregon went there the very first year, got blown out against Ohio State. That was the Zeke year.
Absolutely destroyed.
the next year, if I'm not mistaken, was the year as a basic, the Washington Huskies made it. And then, if I'm not mistaken, they got demolished by, I think it was Alabama, who blew them out in the first round. So they haven't had much of anything to really brag about when it comes to playoffs or championships. Oregon did get there with Michael James back in the day against Cam Newton's Auburn Tigers, but the Pac-12 hasn't done shit since USC with Reggie Bush and Matt Leinart, honestly.
Yeah, no, Pac-12 has been absolute shit. I mean, Mariota in Oregon. I mean, Oregon had a couple of good years, but not a ton to show for it. Looking at that conference top to bottom, I mean, that's if I have aspirations of going pro, I'm not going Pac-12.
Yeah, any conference hasn't done shit compared to the SEC. If we're talking about championships, I mean, SEC's
no. We're not talking straight championships. We're talking success. You can't dog the Big Ten with. I mean, Michigan and Ohio State alone, you can't dog the Big Ten.
Well, you could dog Michigan. Michigan's only had 2 years, 3 years under Jim Harbaugh out of the 7-8 years that he's been there. So I can dog Michigan. I'm sorry, I can dog the fuck out of Michigan because before Jim Harbaugh, they were.
But
dog
I'm not
shit.
talking championships. I'm talking
but
talking
success
about
too
coming out of that conference.
Well, but
yes.
what are you playing for? You playing just to make the playoffs, or are you playing to win the whole thing?
He's talking about getting to the next level, though, too.
These guys are playing to go.
Or are you
pro.
talking about? Okay? If I thought we were talking about,
if you're going to the Power Four because it's no longer the Power Five.
Mark started talking about like going to the playoffs.
No. I was talking about the
Oregon.
I was talking about Pac-12. Like within the other conferences, they were not winning. But yes, they have produced talent. Like, don't get me wrong, the talent at the next level, yeah, there's Pac-12 talent out in the NFL. But when I'm talking about success, like, I'm not talking about the factories that make the next level kids that go to the pros. We understand that. SEC and Ohio State, they still produce the most. And, Miami will still get some school teams in there, Florida State too. They still get them. But when we're talking success, for conferences, yes, we are talking the championships. We're talking about the deep runs. Ohio State's a great regular season team. They haven't done shit really in the last 2 decades. They have a couple championships, but it's been spread out so far. The SEC has been winning in every sport.
One was vacated, wasn't it?
No, that wasn't vacated. Jim
Tressel
got
a bowl ban for a long time.
They had a bowl ban for a couple of years. Yeah, they had a couple of years because Jim Tressel left. They had that 1 year coach, and then Urban Meyer came in. Ohio State is great in the regular season, but they can't compete when it comes to the big-time games. I'm not going to really hold this.
Even looking at the regular season games and the rivalries and everything, like the Michigan State game, love to see a brawl in the tunnel, love to see a bunch of people charged with assault after the game. I don't know. When I'm flipping the channels on it, and I hate to say it, it sounds like saying this out loud sounds weird, but I'm probably tuning into an ACC game over the Pac-12.
Well, that's the question, though, is the ACC, Florida State and Clemson have been rumored to leave for the Big Ten or the SEC. Are they just waiting for the smoke to settle to see the final pieces of now the Pac-12 where they're going to go, and are they going to soon make their name somewhere else? Because if Florida State and Clemson goes, unfortunately, the ACC is going to disband too because they're the two biggest names. That's the Oklahoma, Texas of the ACC. That's the same comparison. If they leave, Virginia Tech, Georgia Tech, Miami, North Carolina, NC State, they're all going to follow behind them. That's Oklahoma and Texas. They've made it clear they stick together. Where Texas goes, Oklahoma goes. So the ACC is going to disband as well. I don't know what's going to happen with them. I mean, we're just saying there's rumors of it happening or about to happen. So what does the ACC do?
I don't see the ACC disbanding because I think the ACC is going to be able to get more with the, Cincinnati and Houston editions. I think the ACC has potential to get some more teams from other conferences. Florida State and Clemson are definitely going to be huge blows if they leave, but at the same time, those teams are also on Florida State's on a few straight down years. They finally started coming back up. I think last year had a great start to the season and started tapering off. Clemson obviously has not been the Clemson that we.
But they're a solid 10-win. They're a solid 10-win school though, still, and that's the best in the ACC.
In the ACC, yeah, in the ACC.
But if
Miami, don't discount Miami. Miami's historically a good team.
They haven't been historically in the last 2 decades, though.
Yeah,
not since they left the Big East.
No, I think that with Florida State and Clemson leaving, like you said, a lot of teams are going to be looking for the door, but I don't think it's going to happen yet. I think they're going to want to see them prove themselves and show that they're going to be, the money makers coming over. So I think it's going to be an opportunity for more teams to jump into that conference. I think like between the Pac-12, especially with the movements that we're seeing between the Pac-12 and the ACC, I think the ACC holds it longer. I think that they make better because look who's going into the Pac-12, Colorado. Look, prime time. I mean, you did a great job.
Colorado's going to be getting views though.
Yeah, Colorado's going to be getting views. That's why Pac-12's taking him. Utah's a good school.
Big 12.
Big 12.
Yeah.
Pac-12's fucked.
They were the first one to join the Big 12, and then Utah, Arizona State joined, or they got permission from the Big 12 today. It will be announced officially tomorrow. But, but this is not just football. This is basketball, too. The Pac-12 is a very good basketball conference. They have the UCLAs. They have the Arizonas. And
the schools don't have to follow the same conference for all sports, though.
But I'm pretty sure they're going to, though.
But they don't have to.
But I'm pretty sure that they are moving conferences all around. If I'm not mistaken,
I'm not saying they're not. I don't know what they're doing. I don't follow college basketball.
The only school that I know that's different is the Irish. They're in the ACC for basketball, but they're independent for football. That's because of the NBC deal, and that's another point.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, the Irish is ACC for basketball.
I got to look it up, but there's definitely no. I'm not disagreeing with the Irish.
The only one I'm tracking.
There are a lot of schools that are in different conferences. Plus, basketball has like 600 D1 schools.
Oh, so does football.
Yeah, basketball's a lot bigger. But
football is like 142.
You have a lot of smaller schools that are very good at basketball that you haven't even heard of football.
Yeah,
like Gonzaga.
Well, and it comes down to
no, I don't think they do. I live 15 minutes down the road. I don't think I've ever seen a football highlight out this way.
No, I'm pretty sure there's cornfields out there. No, but the D1 requirements, I don't know what they are for basketball. I have to look it up, but the D1 requirements, like for football, I know one of them is like you have to make $1 million, I think, on sales for the athletic program. You have to sell so many seats every game. There's a bunch of different things that go into the requirements for D1. And D1, I don't know what the requirements are for D1 basketball, but it seems to be obviously easier. When you've got Chicago State as a D1 basketball team, either they don't have football or they just can't. They'll never be D1 football. But I think North Dakota State it was D1 basketball at some point, or still is. And they're D2 football. So there's just different requirements, but there are a number of teams that are different conferences and different sports.
Well, speaking of the conferences, though, how do we also determine? So I know for basketball, you can do a tournament. How the fuck with 16 teams are you going to start deciding conference winners? Because if you have so many tiebreakers, let's say they're all like the tiebreaker just never runs out. Like it's going to happen. They're not going to play every single team in your conference because now also the out of conference schedule games are going to be kind of even weaker than they already are. So, but how do these tiebreakers going to play? Because are you going to have 4 pods? Or are you going to have a little mini, eliminate bowl games and have a little mini conference tournament, from that December time frame? Like, how do you start to decide these conference winners?
And that's let's just use like SEC because that's just kind of we can use them as the base as they are the winners. Can't argue with history.
Yeah, but right now you guys only have 14 schools and there's 2 divisions though. So at the moment, the way you guys do it, it's different. Like it's going to change when Texas and Oklahoma comes. So,
so we're getting 16 teams now, and like you were saying, tiebreakers. Like, I don't think you can add pretty much like a little SEC tournament, like they do in basketball, right? Because that's adding a whole nother.
Especially expanding the field in the.
Well, you can do a couple games. You can do top 4 against each other and then eliminate bowl games. That's the thing. Just eliminate bowl games.
I don't think you're going to eliminate bowl games though because that's money.
Yeah, you'd get money off the SEC mini tournament too. You're going to get money off that. Like, don't get me wrong.
No, you gotta leave the bowl games. Leave the bowl games. Honestly, keep it where it's at.
Don't matter though.
But this is what drives me for the competition in college football. Keep it where it's at. split it up into conferences, the 2 conferences, top one from each. There's a million ways to break tiebreakers. There's a million things they have to break tiebreakers, so there is never a tie. But keep the conferences, keep the winners of the conference. They fight for the conference championship, because that is what drives the competition for me, and that every game matters.
Tell me, well, you said every game matters. Why the fuck do you want to have a bowl game when that game doesn't matter? Because they set out every starter just about. What's the point of the bowl game? Just to raise money for a sponsor?
Every game matters to get to that bowl game.
But the bowl game does not matter anymore. It's not what it was 10 years ago. Once Christian McCaffrey sat out for Stanford, the bowl game shows that it does not matter if you don't make the playoffs, because they're just going to sit. Your draft picks that are potentially going to be there, unless you're a borderline draft pick.
We saw it in Ohio State last year with Smith and Jigba.
Everyone that's draft eligible.
He didn't play all year last year. Jigba didn't play at all last year. He was hurt all year. He sat out.
I'm thinking of the other wide receiver from Ohio State.
You talking about the guy that played in the playoffs, Marvin Harrison Jr.? Yeah, he played in the playoffs. It's different. They were in the playoffs last year.
No, there was a dude that sat out. I don't remember who it was.
Nick Bosa sat out for a whole season because he already knew he was going to get drafted in the top 5. He sat out a whole season just about. He played like 2 games and said, all right, I'm done. The college does not matter if you are already going to be a draft pick, and the bowl games don't mean shit unless you're a small school team like North Dakota State and teams like that are just happy to be on TV. They're happy to be there, so it matters.
You'd have to look at you'd have to look at the legal standpoint of what contracts do, say Cheez-It, right? The Cheez-It Bowl. What contracts did Cheez-It have with bowl games already? How far is that out already? Do they renew that every year?
Oh, yeah.
Or are they contracted out for fucking the next 10 years, you know?
Oh, yeah. There's definitely a contract for it. But I mean, that's what I'm saying, though. That bowl game.
When they got rid of the Outback Bowl.
It's just a joke, though. I mean, in
no, I get it. I'm going with you, Mark. I think bowl games are a joke. I mean, you have, like you said, draft eligible players are now sitting out. It's pretty much just an extra exhibition game.
That's why a mini tournament to decide
But I think it gives a lot of the smaller teams something to play for.
Because my question is, once the ACC breaks up, maybe in the next 5-6 years, how the fuck are you honestly going to have a conference winner when you have 30-plus teams in one conference? Please tell me that. Tell me your tiebreaker for 30-plus teams in one conference. Because you can't have
tiebreaker. What do you keep talking about? Tiebreaker?
Because that's how you win a conference. Is a tie. Is if, for example, last year Alabama was actually had the best record in the West, but LSU won it based on a tiebreaker because the conference head-to-head, the conference record was better for LSU, not overall. But now when you have 30-plus teams in one conference, how are you going to have a legitimate number 1 team in that conference if you are all 12-0, or you have 5 teams 12-0?
You start with different numbers. You start head-to-head. You start conference games head-to-head. You look at
why you have 4 teams undefeated
games. You look at rushing yards.
Why haven't you have 4 teams undefeated in one conference when you have 30-plus teams? You don't have there's not a tiebreaker if you're all 12-0. There's no tiebreaker.
No, there is a tiebreaker.
No, if you're 12-0, Doc, you're 12-0. You're undefeated. There's no tiebreakers if you're all undefeated. You didn't lose a game.
No, there is tiebreakers.
How?
You have to play somebody.
You can't sit me up if I'm 12-0 and if we have 30-plus teams in a conference and say,
you know what the number one tiebreaker rule is in a lot of sports? Runs scored or points scored.
That's not how it is for college football. It's not. That's not a tiebreaker.
No, right. So when it gets to that point, you put that in there.
But that's the problem is you're going to have mini tournaments once you get to those many teams inside a conference. Then you're going to screw every team.
Your 12-13 game season just became a 35 game season.
It doesn't. You do a 4-team tournament. That's 2 games extra.
Well, when we get listen, I'll tell you when we get remotely close. When we get remotely close to 30 teams in a conference, we can start talking about this.
We're getting there.
What's our highest right now? 16?
16. 3 16s. And guess what happens when the ACC?
We're not
when the ACC breaks up in 5 years, we're going to be there.
The last 4 teams? Oh, no, that's sorry, it's Pac-12.
Once the ACC breaks up, you're going to have 18 schools. And Notre Dame is probably,
how many teams are in the ACC?
14, and you have the 4 remaining from the Pac-10 or Pac-12, and then you're going to have Notre Dame that's going to join a conference too. That's 21.
That's 18 teams?
I'm sorry, that's 19 21? Teams once Notre Dame. 19. Once the Irish join.
19, and we have, 3 conferences of 16?
So you're going to add 6. So it's going to be 24, Doc. Or, sorry, 22.
Right, so when we get 22. 22. So when we get close to 30, we can talk about your tiebreakers.
The problem is fans like you that want a fucking bowl game. That's the problem. It's fans like you that want a Cheez-It Bowl because Florida State won a bowl game finally in fucking 6 years. So we want that.
I don't give a shit about bowl games. Dude,
you do. You said keep the bowl games.
We don't need. No, I like the bowl games, but I'm not saying we got to keep them. I'm not saying we have to keep the bowl game. I'm saying we don't need a 4-game fucking tournament for conference and then a 4-game fucking playoff
when
for
you
the
have
championship.
That many teams, you're going to need.
We don't need a 26-game college football season when we got a fucking 17-game NFL season.
Doc, you said every game matters, but you watch bowl games that don't matter. They don't matter.
But we're shifting.
You did not listen to me earlier when I said the games matter to get to that bowl game because that is the fucking glimmering hope for teams to have something to fight for.
That's a participation trophy.
No,
that's a participation trophy. Yes, it is. That's what it is. So,
no,
you got 6 wins.
Don't get a trophy. The losers don't get a trophy.
You get 6 wins and you're in a bowl game. That is pathetic.
That's not going to happen anymore. Because
yes, it is going to happen.
They're expanding the playoff field to 12.
And it's still going to be 6 teams, 6 games. It's going to be the same.
All right, so you're not going to have the 6 and 6 teams. And
yes,
honestly,
you will.
The fucking all right, that's fine.
Sorry, you might go to 7 wins. I'm sorry, 7 and 5 will be good enough to get a bowl.
All right, that's better than the NFC East from years ago.
That's a joke.
Well, it wouldn't have to be because if we have like a Power 3, right? Because Power 5 is going to be over pretty soon. So you're going to have your Power 3. You're going to have you'll have your 20-something teams, but you also have to think that they're shifting the playoffs to a 12-game playoff now. So that's more teams in a playoff. So
but the problem is your top 5 conferences. So what do you do now when there's 3 big ones and you have these small ones and then you're going to jip these at-large bids they're all fucking possibly 9 wins or more, and you have a good power or another conference that's got 8 wins, 7 wins.
Everyone knows that fucking.
That's what we're running to.
I know that's what we're going to run into, but everyone knows if fucking say Nebraska wins their fucking conference, they're not going to go into the playoffs and compete with fucking big dogs.
I mean, if they won their conference, that means they beat Ohio State and they beat Michigan. So, I mean,
it doesn't guarantee a playoff run. It doesn't guarantee a playoff berth.
It does. If your top 5 best conference winners, if the Big Ten wins a conference, that most likely means they're going to be one of the top 5 record-wise.
At the end of the day, that's why I said that I think this is fucking ruining college football.
It honestly is.
I love the old system of waking up 3 weeks of fucking college football every single day, different bowl games on.
But back then though, 15 years ago, bowl games are awesome because everyone played their starters. So you were okay to. I was okay to watch the Cheez-It Bowl.
No, I'm on board with that. If you fucking have a scholarship to play football, I don't give a fuck about you going pro. You're here to play football. You should not have the opportunity or the option to sit out. But absolutely not. You're here to fucking play football. Hey, guess what? You want to sit out? Well, put it in the fucking scholarship. You sit out for the bowl game, guess what? You're paying the fucking entire 4 years of tuition. I get it. It don't mean shit because if they get drafted, they're going to make the money, but fucking kick them out of school then. You're done. No degree.
Once again, I don't think they care about a degree. They're going to the next level. Nick Bosa.
Yeah, they will when they fucking RG3 themselves in their second or third year.
And guess what? RG3 is working for ESPN. I'm pretty sure he's not worrying about a fucking dime for anything.
I don't know. I feel like it should be. I mean, if it's in the scholarship contract that like you will play in the bowl game and they sit out of it, there's things that you can put into the contract for future whatever. You know what I mean?
I've never liked any college. I
don't think you should be able to sit out of college. I don't think you should be able to sit out of games to go pro.
But as a coach, how could you tell a player to do that? How could you tell, say, Nick Bosa, that is going to go top 3 pick to say, hey, I want you to go risk your career for 4 quarters of a game that does not mean a single thing?
Remember, they weren't getting paid. They weren't getting paid back then either, like they are now.
How as a coach, how could you tell a player to do that?
Here's how. You ready? Here's how. You ready? Bosa, I know that you got a chance to go pro, but we gave you a football scholarship to play football, and this is our biggest game of the year. We got here because of you. You know, you were one of the key reasons why we got here, and we want to win this game because of you. This is what you fucking signed up to do. This is what you fucking. This is what you committed to do. This is like people going to the academy on a getting accepted to the academy of any branch of the armed forces, right? And they're like, hey, you signed up to serve your country. And like, well, sports kind of did well for me. I'm going to get drafted. Tough. You signed a fucking contract. You're serving your country. And that's what they do.
That's completely different. Completely different. Because you're going to an academy. Full heart, when you go to an academy, you're serving. But when you go you go to any other sports college, you're going there. Especially if you go to one of the top power schools, you're going there, like say Alabama, you're going there to get drafted.
What are you doing there? What are you doing there before you go there to get drafted? Because you're not going there to get drafted. What do you got to do in order to get drafted?
You play football a couple of years.
I completely disagree.
But Doc, what happens if Nick Bosa says my back hurts? You can't now force him to play if he's got a back injury. He says I have a back problem.
You do the fucking medical shit that you got to do to verify if he has a legitimate reason. All right, that's one thing. I'm not going to force somebody that's hurt to go out there. If your fucking bone's hanging out of your leg, I'm not going to force it. But if he comes out here, that's fine. You come out here and say my back hurts, and we do an X-ray, we do all the different tests and everything comes up normal. It's pretty easy to fucking tell you're full of shit.
And then he's still going to get drafted. I mean, you can kick him out of the institution. He's still going to get drafted.
I disagree. I think players are smart to sit out, especially if they're a first-round draft pick. If you're talking about like a day 2 draft pick, then like you should be out there playing to prove yourself. But if you're one of the top 10,
I don't agree with it because Ohio State should have walked all over Utah last year in the Rose Bowl, and that game was way closer than it ever should have been because 3 or 4 players from Ohio State sat out.
But
because the bowl game doesn't matter. That's the point. It doesn't matter.
Do you hang a fucking banner saying, "Hey, I won the Rose Bowl in fucking 2023"?
No, because I fucking lost the Rose Bowl to USC. All right, otherwise I would hang the banner.
These big schools don't give a fuck about bowl games,
and the players don't.
We can disagree. That's fine. I mean, obviously it's not going to change, but that's my opinion.
No, the schools care because it's more money for them. The players don't fucking care. They don't. I mean, you can sit there and tell me they do. Prove it, because when they sit out...
No, I know they don't because they're sitting out, and that's my fucking point. You agreed to a scholarship to come on and play the sport, and then the biggest game of the year comes up, and you're like, yeah, no, I'm good.
And you know what? You know what I heard from years before we end this topic? I heard from years how much passion these fucking players have, more than the NFL. Bull fucking shit. They've never had as much passion as the NFL players because guess what? They do the same fucking shit. They sit out when they want to. They don't play 100% when they want to, just like NFL players. So all those 20 years I heard about the NCAA being better tthan the NFL, the NBA, and MLB, fucking horseshit, because it's not. It's never been better. Their system sucks. The playoff is a joke. The BCS was a joke. Everything about the college football playoff so far has been a fucking joke. It's the truth. I think you can sit there and try and change my mind all you want to. It sucks.
No, they're moving in a right direction. The BCS was fucking dog shit.
I think 12 teams is too much. It's too much. 8 was perfect. 4, well, honestly, if you want to be honest, 4 hasn't even been good because it's only been really the first 2 teams that have been competitive with each other. The 3rd and 4th team has been pretty much ass in the playoffs.
Well, that's fucking college football. You have
that's the extreme disparity between talent levels. That's why UCF didn't fucking make it to the championship game, because UCF can cry all they want about being 12-0. They would have gotten absolutely fucking steamrolled by anybody that was in that bowl.
That's why you can't sit here and tell me that NCAA is better. Oh, whatever. NCAA will never be better because, like Doc said, the competition is never there. You have too many 5 stars and 4 stars on a team versus two
NCAA is still
stars.
more entertaining. NCAA is still better to me than NFL.
I don't want to watch. I don't want to watch most of my games 55-10 on a weekly basis.
That's because you're a Texas fan and they're usually down 55-10.
Coming from a guy that watches Illinois and Florida State, I'm sorry. Let me pick my second school too. I'm gonna pick Ohio State for my second school now. Since you have 2 schools, I'm gonna pick 2 schools now. So
that's cute considering Florida State was my number 1 before Illinois, but that's cute. Keep going.
Oh, but Illinois is dog shit. They had one good year. congrats, dude.
Illinois is dog shit. I never said they weren't.
So you're gonna rip on some guy's team.
Florida's dog shit too now because of Willie Taggart.
Well, good.
Great episode, good. Boys.
Yeah. To be honest, though, NCAA is honestly never competitive with each other. When you have the 32nd worst team in football versus the Chiefs still will have harder times beating that team compared to Ohio State playing Rutgers. It's just completely different. It's so bad. I don't understand how people watch it on a weekly basis and they say it's entertaining. It's so just bad. Like, I don't get it. I just don't. And then, speaking of a fight, Nate Diaz versus Jake Paul, boys. Prediction time. I'm going to go Jake Paul.
You mispronounced Mark Davis versus Doc, all right? You mispronounced the names of the
watch a sport, Doc, you watch a sport and you claim your hat on this so passionate and so competitive with each other, but it's the complete opposite in college football right now. And it's been for a while, actually. So they have the same passion as NFL players, but not the same competition. They don't. They don't. And that's why you don't see those Ohio State quarterbacks playing at the next level, because they don't have the same competition in college that they do in the NFL. So that's why Justin Fields and Cardell Jones
it's two severely different speeds between
because they're used to playing with wide open receivers, not playing against good competition against each other. Good competition makes you better. That's why you see some of these.
You're right. Right. That's why you're right. No, you're right. That's why every Alabama quarterback has made it in the NFL. Every Alabama quarterback has made it because the competition. Because the competition. No, because the competition is fierce in the SEC.
No,
you're sitting here saying that nobody on Ohio State has made it because the competition is nothing, but the competition is fierce in the SEC. So that's why
I'll tell you, Alabama.
That's why how many Alabama studs are there playing quarterback right now?
I'll tell you, Alabama's got more.
It ain't because of lack of competition, Mark.
Hey,
it ain't because of lack of competition.
I'll tell you, Alabama's been more quarterbacks in the playoffs recently than Ohio State does, or the Big Ten in general.
Sitting on the bench?
Mac Jones made the playoffs his rookie year, and he was a starter. You can sit there and shit all you want to, but he made the playoffs. Joe Namath won a fucking Super Bowl out of Alabama. So how about that? Where's Ohio State and the Big Ten quarterbacks at? Brady? Brady's is the one guy you're going to hang your hat on, and he wasn't even a good quarterback in college. He was not. So you can sit there and say what you want about the SEC. They have better talent than the Big Ten, completely, all around. Quarterback talent too. I take Mac Jones over.
That's my fucking point, buddy.
But what I'm saying though is these quarterbacks, when you have 5-star talent around you, they're not going to go to the next level and be productive like they do from guys like North Dakota State. Carson Wentz was a pretty good talent coming out, and he had a good few years in him.
Trevor Lawrence, I get it. No, what you just said, when you have talent around, you're not going to come out and perform. So in the SEC, if you got talent around, you're not going to come out and excel. And in the Big Ten, if you don't have talent around, you're not going to come out and excel. Got it. Tracking. All right, moving on. What's next? Jake Paul and Nate Diaz. Let's do it.
Well, look at the quarterbacks.
No, you said it right. You got talent around you, you're not going to succeed. You don't got talent around you, you're not going to succeed.
That's why I'm saying. That's why I'm saying level competition. Level competition makes you better, and college doesn't have that.
No, you didn't say competition. You said talent around you, and talent around you means competition.
Hey, so before that point, I said level. I said level competition.
You got it.
All right, Doc. Okay,
moving on.
Jake Paul, Nate Diaz. I'm going to go Jake Paul, even though I want Nate Diaz to win.
I think I want Nate Diaz to win, but I think Jake Paul paid Nate Diaz a lot of money to fall on the ground.
I don't believe that paying job after his last fight. I don't believe he pays the fighters anymore.
Maybe not anymore.
He did lose his last fight.
No, I'm with you, boys. I want Nate Diaz, but I think it's going to be Jake Paul. I definitely am pulling for Nate Diaz. I think deserving, he's the one, but I think just media, everything, advertisement, I think it's going to be Jake Paul.
Yeah, I mean, Nate Diaz also isn't a true boxer too. I mean, he doesn't have many TKOs or knockouts in UFC. True. He does have good conditioning. He's got great cardio. I mean, maybe he'll gas out Jake Paul. Maybe he'll take it to the distance and maybe get a couple strikes at the end.
But that's where the boxing comes in too, though. Boxing is a lot of stamina.
Well, we saw Jake Paul's stamina last time.
Look at what was that? The Floyd Mayweather-Pacquiao fight. There was a lot of lap running in that ring.
Those are also two professional boxers. Jake Paul has had stamina problems in his career.
That's true. You're right.
So I mean, I comparing Jake Paul to Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao, it's kind of.
Oh no. I was just talking overall stamina as far as boxing versus UFC. Yeah.
No, yeah, I mean, there's definitely there because how many rounds you go. I agree the stamina is there for boxing, but we've seen Nate Diaz go. I mean, I know it's not as long, but he goes the full rounds and he gets kicked. He's getting fucking elbow. He's getting punched. So he has the cardio and he can definitely take punches. I don't think Jake Paul's throwing blows as hard as Conor McGregor and guys like that winning the less padding as well in UFC. So I think Diaz can hold his own. Maybe he might not win. Maybe it goes all whatever rounds it is. I don't think it's a traditional 12 round, whatever it is in boxing. But yeah, I want to see Nate Diaz hand Jake Paul a second loss, but I just don't think it's going to happen this go.
Yeah. No, I'm right there with you.
But with that being said, Luke, we miss you out there too in the field, buddy. You get back to us. You keep defending us out there, and where the fuck you're at, to be honest. They didn't disclose
doing the Lord's work.
So
yeah, Uncle Sam, thanks you for your service.
And just know, Luke, when you're listening to this, your Big 12 conference, they're getting some competition now, boys. So maybe UCF can have something to stand on now with Texas and Oklahoma leave, and now you guys finally have good competition in the Big 12 with Utah. But
yeah, maybe you guys will actually make the playoffs now.
Yeah, I mean, maybe everyone makes playoffs. It seems like in college nowadays, and it goes to 12. It might be 24 teams in a couple of years when they make these super conferences. You never know. It might just be
that's probably what's going to happen before conference. Before it's going to be like the NCAA. You're going to have your automatic bids, and then they're just going to expand the field to a 32 team playoff run. That's what they're going to do.
It'll be like the NBA. Everyone gets in. That's what college is turning into. And hey, good for
MLB's
college football.
Going that way too. Shit.
Yep. Not everyone can be the NFL. That's it's as simple as can be. Not everyone can be the National Football League, best league in the world, especially
which
in
is
America.
back, baby.
Yep, which is back next week. We have full preseason games week 1. That is Nick the Doc Skirkwins. That is Chris Meinhardt. Shout out to you, Luke Rule. I'm Mark Davis. This is All About the Balls podcast, and we are out. Thank you for checking out another episode of All About the Balls podcast. We want to thank all of our listeners and supporters of the Sack House. You can listen to the show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. And don't forget to subscribe and give us a follow on Twitter and Instagram at the Sack House.